first to acknowledge it. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of negativity on my end. I talk about a lot of pop cultural and social things that I just find detrimental, that I think are overrated, and then I come out with valid points as to why I'm right, and everybody gets angry. And it's a very tiring process, but I will at least kind of give up a little bit of ground here. That, I am hypercritical sometimes, perhaps a little bit needlessly critical, but you know what? I'm allowed to under the Constitution, so what are you going to do about it? That said, I want to do something a little bit different. I do so much condemnation of popular cultural relics, and today I want to do the exact opposite. I actually want to praise something, because there's a movie, well, it's a documentary, but documentary movie, they're interchangeable, up for an Oscar. It's out on the Netflix, and you need to see it now. It's called Cartel Land, and it's a really, really, really fascinating documentary about the drug trade in Mexico. But it's not necessarily about the drug trade itself. That's the brilliant part of it. It's about how they're reacting north of the border and south of the border. Now, when you look at documentaries, we all know documentaries, they're BS. They pretend to be works of nonfiction, but they always have an agenda. They're always pressing something. They're always manipulating the truth. They're always kind of fudging things to get the story they want. And I mean, this is true even with the really good documentaries. Like, I love all the West Memphis 3 documentaries. Paradise Lost, West of Memphis, all that stuff. I love them. I enjoy them. I think they're really, really fascinating movies. But at the same time, I'm also willing to acknowledge that there's a lot of stuff the producers leave out. There's a lot of stuff they do that I think is very unjournalistic, and that actually kind of borders on advocacy. And but it's still an entertaining movie. But I'm able to kind of say, okay, there's parts of this that are certainly not true. There's parts that are embellishments. There are parts where there's the error of omission, and I move along. I'm a huge fan of the early Michael Moore movies. I mean, Roger and Me and Bowling for Columbine were hugely, hugely influential movies on me, and sort of shaping my worldview. But at the same time, I'm also willing to admit, yeah, there was a lot of manipulation in there. There's a lot of recreated scenes, a lot of half-truths, a lot of selective editing. So even if something can be comprehensively great, I'm willing to admit that there's a lot of bias. There's prejudice, there's manipulation of truth. There's certainly a way to kind of fudge reality to get the story that you want. Now, when I look at Cartel Land, the thing that absolutely astonishes me about this movie is that it's one of the most staggeringly unbiased movies I've seen in a long time. I mean, it's one of those films where I kind of go into it, you think it's going to be sort of an apologistic take on the war on drugs, but it never goes that route. You think it's going to be one of those movies where they look at some of the factors, the Mexican economy, NAFTA, that might be the reason why you have so many guys who are into Los Zetas and all that. It never does. And when you look at the characters, and there are two central characters in this movie, and it's a great sort of dyad of how people in certain cultures are reacting to the barbaric Mexican drug trade. I mean, the stuff you see in this movie is absolutely just horrific, like ISIS, Taliban level stuff. People getting their heads cut off, entire families getting murdered in the middle of the night, just completely gruesome stuff. And the main characters in the film, there's this one guy who's like living at the Arizona border, and he's this dude that smokes a lot of cigarettes and he used to do meth, and he's like started like a militia to like patrol the border and root out coyotes. When I say coyotes, I don't mean actual coyotes. I mean the people who are basically paid guides to get people across the border. And he's basically formed like his own sort of police force, to root out drug traffickers. And the entire movie you're thinking, okay, they're going to paint this guy as like a bona fide David Koresh racist. It's going to happen. But it never happens. They actually paint him as like a emotional, multi-dimensional human being, which is something that I was just absolutely flabbergasted. This film was that principled, that it was that willing to kind of make these characters, human and three-dimensional and just flesh them out. And the other character is a guy who actually lives in the mountainous regions of central Mexico. And he started something called the Auto Defenses, which is basically like another militia who goes, into these small towns that have been taken over by members of La Familia, the Knights Templar, and basically they're a vigilante group that's doing what, you know, the Mexican state can't do. And that's basically going there and root out all the drug traffickers and liberate these towns. But there's so much intrigue. I mean, it's a great way of, you know, looking at responses from different angles. There's a lot of similarities and some dissimilarities. But I mean, it's just utterly fascinating, the whole comparison points. And there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of political stuff going on, especially with the auto defenses. You know, there's a lot of controversy going on within the actual Mexican state police. You know, there's allegations, you know, that they're being funded by the drug cartels themselves. Let's see, there's a lot of really interesting subplots emerging about perhaps the auto defenses becoming a little fascist themselves, like they're going to towns that really don't need their protection and doing like a lot of really underhanded mafia tactics. So I mean, it's a very like a moral and neutral film. Like it never comes out and says, okay, these guys are doing the right thing, these guys are doing the wrong thing. It's just saying, here's what's happening. It might be good, it might be bad, but this is what's going on. And it's just an utterly compelling film. I don't want to really say too much about it because I want you to go out and watch it because it's that good. But one of the things that absolutely just floored me is the movie is it's the typical Rashomon sort of dynamic, right? Where you have the reaction north of the border, you have the reaction south of the border, and sandwiching the movie like Oreos is you have comments from actual drug traffickers. Like the guys are actually out there making meth and wearing luchador masks and just being evil. They open and close the film, and that's really their only presence, and it's brilliant. You know, they're up there saying, well, you know, we grew up poor, don't have money, and I mean, I know we're doing bad, this doesn't really improve anybody's lives, but you know what are you going to do? And then you hear the story about, you know, the militia in Arizona, and then the militia in central Mexico, and then the film goes back to the drug traffickers, and they're like, you know what, we are what we are. I mean, we don't feel bad about what we do. I mean, yeah, we do some stuff, but so what? You know, we actually fund these guys. You know, we funnel money back in the community. We help people out. What are you going to do about it? And then it's over. And it's such a fascinating film because it doesn't give you any answers. You know, so many documentaries, they have that sort of unprincipled technique where they're trying to skew you towards a desired effect. Like you're supposed to walk away saying, okay, well, these people are innocent. Like a making of a murder, that's the good example. Or The Jinx. Completely biased, because the entire point of the movie is just say, okay, this guy's guilty, this guy's innocent, whatever. That's the whole point of the series. But with Cartel Land, that doesn't happen. That's not the case. The movie doesn't give you an answer. It just says, here's what's going on. There's a lot of moral ambiguity. Maybe there's an answer, maybe there isn't. Here's just what's going on. And I find that so admirable. I find it so refreshing, and it's just absolutely fantastic. You know, it's one of the movies where I'll tell you how good it is. I'm the kind of guy, I never watch a movie twice. Even if it's something I absolutely love, if I really, really, really enjoy it, you know, I'll write it down and say, hey, it's a great movie. I'll come back and watch it a couple of years down the line. I'll watch this movie twice in one weekend. Like the first time I saw it, I'm like, whoa, this is really, really, really good. But you don't really see the movie the entire way through until the second viewing. So, you know, later that weekend I watched it again, and I'm like, man, this holds up. This is a solid, solid, solid documentary. In fact, one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long time. So, yeah, you need to go out and watch it. And it's like I said, you know, you see me riffing on these movies. You see me riffing on all the superhero movies and the paint-by-number sequels and juvenile movies and infantile, you know, adult fantasy crap. This is the kind of movie I want to see more of. Because, you know, even with Transformers and Deadpool and Batman and Superman, all this fantasy crap, all that stuff to me is nowhere near as interesting as what's actually happening in the real world. To me, there is nothing more fascinating than actual human beings. There's nothing more interesting in the real world and the society we interact with on a daily basis. And this is a film that takes a look at, you know, a huge, huge, huge social issue and how people are reacting to it. And it's such an interesting sociological study. And it's intellectual and it's unpolitical. And it's just something that makes you think and makes you want to, you know, study something a little bit more in depth. And it's a great human drama on top of it. It tells a great narrative. You know, it's just one of those movies where it just covers all the bases, not just of great journalism, but I'm going to say just great filmmaking in general, great storytelling. This is a great, great, great story, great characters, fully fleshed out, and I can't say enough about it. It's just great. This is what I want to see more of, just across the board. You know, if you're tired of all the formulaic crap out there, watch this movie. It's great. Like I said, completely unprejudiced, unbiased. Just one of just the best coverage documentaries of, you know, the 2010s for sure. This one is fantastic. You need to see it. Alright, it's on Netflix. It's called Cartel Land 2015. My highest recommendation. 4 stars. What are you waiting for? Go screen it right now.